It started with just a few families. A riverbank settlement in early Neolithic Mesopotamia. Maybe 100 people at most. Everyone knows everyone. Food is shared, decisions made by consensus. But within 2 generations, the population triples. Strangers arrive. Disputes over land emerges. Crops must be coordinated. When a seasonal flood threatens the village, arguments erupt over what to do first. Amid the chaos, one person stands up, a skilled orator, an experienced builder, and begins assigning roles. To everyone's surprise, the plan works. The river is held back. The harvest is saved. The villagers look around and realize they've just followed a leader. Hello and welcome back to the Mammoth in the Room, where we explore leadership lessons that stand the test of time. I'm Nicholas Bocconi, CEO of Mammoth Leadership Sciences, and today we're continuing our special mini-series on the evolution of hierarchy. In our last episode, we looked at how intergroup conflict and warfare drove egalitarian bands to accept strong leaders. Now, in episode 2, we examined the second major evolutionary pressure that led our ancestors to embrace authority, the challenges of increasing group size and social complexity. And one quick reminder before we dive in. This fall, Mammoth Leadership Sciences is launching its online leadership academy. And the first thing we'll do is, in this academy, we're launching a course designed to help leaders like you to decode the psychological and evolutionary and biological traps that hold organizations back. Stay tuned. Now, as human groups grew larger, they faced a new problem. The old egalitarian, consensus-based ways of organizing started to break down. It's one thing to have a leaderless camp of 30 people, where everyone can voice opinions. It's quite another to manage a settlement of 300 or a city of 30,000. Coordination becomes exponentially more difficult as numbers rise. Anthropologists refer to this challenge as scalar stress, the stress of scaling up group sizes. Perret et al. 2020 highlighted that. And again, we have the literature in the show notes. Essentially, the bigger the group, the harder it is to keep everyone on the same page. If you insist on complete equality in decision-making, meetings drag on, fractions form, and crucial decisions get delayed. Hierarchy offers a solution. It streamlines decision-making. Rather than 300 people all debating every issue, perhaps 30 elders represent them, and then one chief can decide on behalf of those elders. By creating layers of authority, large groups can act more efficiently. Evolutionary models back this up. Cedric Perret and colleagues found that as group size increases, shifting from a flat to a centralized structure dramatically reduces coordination costs. In their simulations, efficiency gains also drove the evolution of stable hierarchies, maybe even to the same extent, or probably to the same extent like warfare. Groups chose hierarchy because it works better as numbers grow. And we can relate to this every day. Think about a committee that's gotten too large to be effective. Often a single chairperson or a small executive team is appointed to cut through the chaos. That's a micro-hierarchy solving a coordination problem. Similarly, imagine early farming villages growing into sprawling towns. Without some hierarchical structure, like chiefs, councils, managers, things like organizing irrigation, storing food surplus, or resolving disputes would become unwieldy. Hierarchy is as much a communication network design as it is a power structure, creating an efficient chain for information flow and decision enforcement. Computational studies show a similar pattern. When maintaining many direct connections becomes costly, networks self-organize into modular, hierarchical structures. In plain terms, making connections expensive favors hierarchy because it minimizes the total links needed. Human societies likely experienced a similar dynamic. As the cost of keeping everyone in the loop grew with population size, hierarchical organizations reduced social clutter, improving the group's overall performance and adaptability. In summary, large human groups found that some inequality in influence was a price worth paying to get things done. Hierarchy was efficient. It solved the headaches of size that pure egalitarianism could not. Over time, what may have started as a practical delegation, you lead us just for this task, could solidify into permanent authority. Especially when combined with a high-pressure environment of intergroup competition, these leadership arrangements set the stage for full-blown hierarchical societies. Now, here we need to start talking about a social revolution. And this is from bands to states. The transition from egalitarian bands to complex hierarchies was gradual, but its impact was revolutionary. In small-scale societies, leadership was personal. Leaders knew their followers intimately, and power was temporary and contingent on good performance. In contrast, ancient states introduced strangers as rulers over thousands of peoples, fixed ranks, and even castes or classes. This was nothing short of a social revolution in our species' way of life. Let's sketch the big picture. For most of our Paleolithic past, humans lived in autonomous bands with no higher authority. Then, after the Ice Age, as some groups settled down and began farming, hierarchical forms started appearing. We see the emergence of chiefdoms, villages ruled by a chief and an elite family line, in various parts of the world around 8,000, 5,000 years ago. These were intermediate forms, not yet full states, but no longer egalitarian bands. Chiefs often gained authority by redistributing food, leading religious rites, or organizing defenses. People deferred to them because they provided order and protection. But a chief's power was still limited by the community in many cases. As population kept rising and competition intensified, chiefdoms could grow into kingdoms and states. The first true states, such as those in Mesopotamia around 3000 BCE, featured centralized governments, taxation, standing armies, and legal codes, all enabled by multi-layered hierarchies of officials beneath the ruler. Similar developments occurred independently across the world. By the time writing appears, we read laments of commoners under powerful kings, evidence that the hierarchical model had firmly taken root. These early states had huge advantages in war and organization, allowing them to absorb or conquer less organized groups, and over millennia, their scale only increased. The great empires of antiquity bound tens of millions under one authority. Fast forward to today, we find ourselves citizens of nations that are essentially massive hierarchies with hundreds of millions of people. We take for granted that our society has layered leadership, bosses, chiefs, presidents, and so on, a structure utterly alien to our distant ancestors who roamed the Pleistocene savanna. It's important to acknowledge that this transformation brought mixed blessings. Hierarchy enabled large-scale cooperation, infrastructure, and cultural achievements. But it also brought inequality, oppression, and new social stresses. Just think about it. There was this one episode where I talked about how about the multiples of what a CEO earns versus the normal worker, right? It was like 400 times what a normal worker earns. That is inequality, and that of course brings a social stress. But it was better to do it like that than to be unorganized. So human beings did not genetically morph into a totally hierarchical species overnight or at all. We still carry egalitarian instincts and expect fairness and voice. This makes our relationship with hierarchy ambivalent, right? We need a president or a ruler or a CEO, right? But we don't want to be told what to do all the time. We often admire strong leadership and the order it brings, yet we bristle at commands and injustice. This push and pull is the legacy of our long journey. We are primates with egalitarian brains living in a hierarchical world. That is, from a biological perspective, fascinating. Understanding how we got here, from open fire circles with no chiefs to skyscraper-filled nations with elaborate chains of command, is more than a history lesson. It helps us to see the mammoth in the room, the deep evolutionary forces that still shape our workplaces, communities, and politics. Hierarchy was a solution to problems of survival and scale, but it remains a double-edged sword in modern life. And in upcoming episodes, we'll explore that double edge, how hierarchies affect our psychology and behavior today, and what the evolution of hierarchy can teach us about building better organizations now. Stay tuned, because if you're a leader of any kind, business, politics, sports, churches, whatever, you need to know what you're dealing with when you look at the org chart with your name at the top. Or normally at the top, but also at the same time at the bottom of an upward chain. All right, this was it for today. And if this episode resonated, please subscribe, rate, and share it with anyone who is interested in leadership. And don't forget, Mammoth Leadership Sciences is launching a new online leadership academy this fall. It's packed with insights, tools, and frameworks to help you become a more self-aware, adaptive leader. Keep an eye out. And lastly, if you're interested in more, you can order my book. It has the same title as this podcast, The Mammoth in the Room. It offers a practical roadmap for how great leaders and their teams embrace evolutionary truths for outstanding business results. And it does that in 3 sections: on people, on strategy, and on implementation. Until next time, lead wisely, think critically, and don't let ancient instincts hijack your modern leadership. I'm Nicholas Bocconi, and this is The Mammoth in the Room.